Hey, looks like we're live. I should be careful here. Just finishing doing one of the things you're never supposed to do on a microphone in front of a camera or anything like that. Sorry, I got a piece of tape up there. I got to get rid. Don't eat a brownie when you're on the live stream. Now, a couple of things have changed here since last time I did this. By the way, Happy New Year, I guess. It's probably the first time I've done it in a little while. On my end, what's changed basically is I'm no longer on Twitter. I got that account suspended again for doesn't matter what the reason is, but can't talk with anyone there, and that's fine. Another thing that's changed is this. I've been looking at, especially around the end of the year, there's been a lot of product announcements from a lot of people now. Canon, Leica, some audio manufacturers all over the place. And what's quite interesting, now, by the way, I hope that the volumes come through. I have no idea. What's quite interesting is that, well, let me give an explanation here. Today I had a barbecue with a friend and a friend of a friend. And this friend of a friend came up from Tokyo because he had nothing to do. His job right now is basically no one's doing nothing. So what happens is he's got all this free time and no income. So he takes a train, comes up, has a barbecue. But in the meantime, when everyone's basically kicked off their jobs, etc., these companies are coming out with a whole bunch of expensive products for you to buy. And they get more and more expensive, it seems, almost at every juncture. There's something off. People losing money, people losing their jobs, companies coming out with stuff. And they somehow seem to be fine and keep coming out with more and more stuff. But that's sort of an aside. What I want to show you today is a photograph that I took a very, very long time ago. Can't remember what it was for. I think it was for an article that maybe I have published or maybe I have not published yet. And something that I will do some sort of podcast about later on. It's two beautiful mini disc units. The first, by the way, pardon me just a moment. The first ever mini disc unit is quite interesting, actually. This bad boy here is the first mini disc unit ever made for mass consumption. And who knows what the production numbers per month were, but they basically had to be something serious because after this unit called the MZ-1, of course, from Sony came out, there were a whole bunch of pre-recorded discs, meaning that there were recording systems out there, probably for professionals, radios, various artists, labels, etc. But this was the one that you as a consumer could buy. And from what I understand, back in the day, it went for something like $700 US. What is that worth today? In the 700, you're probably, it was 1992, probably inflation of roughly 200%. So maybe $1,400, something like that. But nowadays, these things are quite old. There's a couple of unique things about them. One, you load the disc in through a slot here. And when it's in, a little label comes out that says disc in, which is pretty cool. And then when you eject it, it doesn't eject through some sort of like lever mechanism. No, it's a separate electronic motorized eject system, which I assume breaks down. Now, I had to replace the screen of one of these things from another unit. Wasn't that big of an ordeal. Interestingly, despite the size of this thing and despite the battery, where is it here? Taking up, don't get the battery in there. It's a huge battery there, battery compartment at least. Despite both the battery being huge and this thing being huge, inside is jam-packed with electronics, gizmos, and whatever. And this screen glows. It has just a couple of hours battery life, but you can, on that nickel cadmium battery, you can walk around. It's got a little bit of shock memory. It's got basically not a full featured keyboard, but if you want to title, this is a great way to title with this player. You can't title LP discs, of course, but you can title regular SP discs, and it plays back anything recorded in SP, either mono or stereo from any age, basically. And I've had no problem playing 80-minute discs, 16-minute discs, and 74-minute discs. However, this thing, as awesome as it is to look at, and I was hoping to sort of use this kind of portably, it has, and it's powerful, by the way. The amplifier in this thing is powerful. It also has an optical out. I think I'm pointing right. Optical output. So as long as you don't have like a DRM disc, you can spit the optical to some other MD recorder or some other some sort of super audio system, an Onkyo or whatever, which is really cool. But when you're listening through the headphone, which I believe, see here, sorry, it's right here. When you're listening through the headphone, this thing is incredibly noisy in terms of the amp sort of hiss. It is just like, shh. And when you rock up or down the volume here, you hear, I don't know what it is, the resistance, some sort of interference, and it's just annoying if you have nice earphones. If you have headphones like this, you don't hear it so much. And if you have like proper big, powerful headphones that require a lot of voltage, you won't hear it at all. Interestingly, this thing can power most of those ones, even the big powerful ones. Now, 10 years, no, this is 1992, 1993, this came out. Then Sony released the first high mini disc, which had 1 gigabyte discs here. This is 2004, I believe. And just look at this. First generation high MD, first generation wait, here we are. Like this. And it's quite interesting. This thing almost looks like it could eat it. Like you could pop this in the disc slot, but you can't. You can't. This unit still today is my #1 recommended unit if you want to get basically a full-fledged portable recorder. It does high mini disc. You can do net MD, great battery life, good construction, sound quality, not the best, but in the top 80%. Very good for your money. And they're not as expensive as the MZ-NH1, of course, which does uploading and is for some reason, is a less robust body. Now, I took a photograph of these two side by side, and we're just going to check that out now. And what I'm going to try to do, if anyone comes in, what I'd like to do is kind of like an AMA style, and I'll just talk about these units for those mini disc idiots out there, as we are. Anyone who's got any questions, I'll try to look back at the screen. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Anyway, first, what I got to do here is everything share screen. Let's see if I can. Wait a second. First, what I'm going to do, I got to open up this file in Photoshop. It's a file I took with the Fujifilm X-T3, which I still have. So I'm still a Fujifilm user. And actually, if you can see back there on the camera stand, I'm not sure if you can. Let me go over to the screen here. You can see it. Now you can't. Wait. There we are. Is it there? No, you can't see it. Basically, by the light over there, by the newer light, you're going to see a Sigma 150 2.8 macro lens attached to a microscope objective, and back behind that is a Fujifilm X-A5. So I'm firmly still in the Fujifilm camp. Don't you forget that. All right, we got Photoshop open and this file. So I'm just going to share my Photoshop screen here. See what we can do here. Share screen, go to application window, and Photoshop, or Camera Raw, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully this is Camera Raw. You know, I'm a little bit confused here. You know what? First, what we're going to do, we're just going to go straight to Camera Raw. Let's take a look at this. So this is a photograph I took. I think it was last year or the year before with the X-T3. One of the first photographs probably I took with that camera. This is after I already knew that the camera, if you're using external flashes, will somehow cast to blue, even if you sync all your colors previously onto a gray card or something like that. So it's kind of, how do I say it? The X-T3 has done, as well as the X-H1, as well as the GFX, did in many instances actually work with me to do magazines and do some family stuff. I've never used it at an event, but basically, for all these years using Fujifilm in a studio like this, using lights that I used to use with the Hasselblad and the Nikon and the Leica, one thing I just didn't really like is that you'd get a sort of blue color cast. It's not so bad in this image, but you can see it. Now, this is just the raw file. How I would normally open this up before I do, you know, some people probably have a much more intricate and maybe a much better sort of raw editing system before they get to the file that we're going to touch up. But let me just show you what I want to get rid of in this image. A couple things. On the body themselves, there might be some dust, and maybe we'll take care of that. Some dust here. There's an old sticker that was here that's been peeled off. I'm not going to fix that. That's just too much work, and I don't want to be here for, you know, a little longer than we have to. But we're gonna clean off the dust, see how that works. We might just boost up some let's see here, actually. On the other unit here, I'm just gonna take a look. The screen is supposed to be pretty nicely calibrated. I'm going to say that I want to bring up just a bit of saturation. I want to see a little bit of blue, a little bit more blue there. That doesn't look good. Doesn't look bad either. Maybe a bit of vibrance. Don't even know what that does. Let's just treat this simply here. I'm not going to touch any of the texture, clarity, dehaze. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm wrong. Texture, we're going to add 15. All right. Texture is something I like to add a little bit here. You'll notice with the APS-C system, this is shot at ISO 100. And again, I know all you people are probably like, but dude, that is an X-Trans file. So that's why you get the wormies and all that from Lightroom. This file is not going to go for publishing to a company. I just want to show you some basic stuff. So how I would basically run my system. Now, what I'm mostly worried about is this stuff here. The images, the units and cells, sorry, I actually cleaned before I took the photograph, which is the best way to do it. You're never going to get off all the grit. So you're going to find some pieces of dust there. Zoom out here. You're going to see some dust here as well. There's just no way to get rid of all that, even if you're very, very careful cleaning. And I thought I was a little more careful. This must have come out later on. That must have come when I was shooting. But the main thing I'm worried about, and some of this is actually this here, this sort of smudge, that's a problem. And I'm not sure I'm actually going to be able to fix that properly, but we'll just see what we can do. So I will just open this file. I think that's about right. And this should go to Photoshop. Let's see if we're actually sharing the screen here. Oh, no, we're not. Let's see here. Share screen. Let's go to Photoshop. There we are. Wait, no, that's not Photoshop. Photoshop. Okay, here we are. All right, good. That looks like Photoshop. All right, so I'm going to get out of that tool. And the first thing I'm doing, I'm just going to, what everyone does, just let's call this clean up. I'm just going to duplicate the layer, just clean up here. And the tool that I like to use, I'm a simple man. First, by the way, before we get to do anything funny, we're just going to try to clean up this dust and stuff. And we're just going to go down to, it's been a while since I used this. Here we go. Spot healing. I go here. And I just have a Wacom pad here. Don't know if you can see this. See if this should be charged. Should be ready to go. Why is it not moving? Wait. There we are. Just a moment, guys. There we are. We're going to make this, I'm going to go index down to be a little bit smaller. Whoa, it's kind of moving weird. Let's unplug that, see if we get any faster. I found that the response for this thing is actually very poor once it's plugged in. All right, that looks all right. Okay, we're just going to get rid of the worst stuff here. Just pop like that, like that. If there's any sort of problems when I fix it, I'll talk about that and see if we can fix it. But just the worst stuff here. You'll notice a couple of things. There's a lot of sort of noise texture, and the X-T3 does show a lot of noise under studio lights at base ISO. Most cameras do show a little bit. The X-T3 shows a little bit more. I think it's because it's APS-C. But you'll notice that some of that noise texture here, you can't fix that with the clone tool or whatever this thing is called. What's this tool called? Spot healing brush. All right, can't fix that. I'm actually the way I generally. What I end up doing is I end up cloning the file once more and then adding in a bit of noise, and that ends up right at the end. You don't want to do that first, because whatever noise you add in, when you try to fix something later on, that noise is going to then be weirdly cloned, or it's going to be weirdly sort of deprogrammed or whatever, and then you're going to have some problems. So here, just going to find a little ouchie here, go in. All right, yeah, there we are. Little ouchie there. Yeah, good. All right. This unit, by the way, there's a couple of units that Sony, I think, completely nailed the look of. This is from early 90s. And what this unit does, if you look at it, you immediately know that it's not a CD player. You also, because of the shape of it, know immediately it's not a tape deck. And tape decks were getting pretty good back then. There are some pretty compact ones. And this one, of course, this unit is twice the size or 3 times the size of a compact tape deck of the day, or maybe just a couple of years after. And when you look at it, you immediately know that this thing ain't either. But it also doesn't say DAT or DCC on it. So you know it's something else. And Sony, here, you know what? We can just show in this image here. Look down here. Prominently, they feature the MD Walkman logo. And this is the classic MD Walkman, which is as classic as it gets. Got the horizontal lines, got the Walkman underneath it. Sony featured prominently there. The later Walkman logo, if you can see on my screen here, is like this. It's the oversimplification that you see with logos that happens, it seems like, all throughout history, to the point where you don't know what that means. Without the word Walkman under it, you don't know, for instance, you don't even know there's a Minidisc thing. I mean, fine, you know what this is. You know what this player is. but the logo itself doesn't say anything necessarily about the unit that you're touching. And I think this is kind of a real problem with logos, as they go on. But this old one, sure, it's simple. All it says is MD, and that Walkman there. But the Walkman links it, of course, to CDs and tapes, so it's there. But then the MD coming in with those, I don't know why they the horizontal lines. I'm thinking it has to do. It's got a sense. It doesn't look like it's moving, but it has a sense of movement, almost like a scan lines going down a TV. So it's almost like the logo itself is almost like some sort of infomercial for something new, but also because it's got that sort of potential for movement. It's almost like this is the CD that you can use on the go. And of course, back then the CD players didn't have shock memory, and so if you wanted to walk with them, you couldn't. You could barely take them on the bus. And the MD, of course, advertised itself quite well based on the 10 seconds of memory, shock memory, that they originally included in their units. There's a lot more dust than I thought there was on this thing. I don't remember there being that much. Now, by the way, I'm going to try to spend, let's say, about half an hour just sort of cleaning up this image. Normally, if I was doing this for a magazine, half an hour is way too much. By the way, I'm going to use a clone tool here. I'm going to go down. Some people use it on a separate disk, or a separate layer. I think I'll be all right. I'm just going to find something around here, and we're just going to try to clean up this here and get a little bit of the noise that belonged there in the first place. It's not going to be perfect. Let's find maybe here is a good place. Try to bring in just a little bit of the, it's not perfect, but it's not sticking out too much. But this part is a little bit here. We're going to, where do I find a sample? Hopefully this kind of works. I have a feeling I'm just kind of brushing things around. Well, I think that's okay. Now this over here, by the way, I'm going to go back to my, what is this called? Spot healing brush. See what we can do. These areas here where the tone is changing end up being kind of trouble. Usually what I do is I find, where's the tool? Patch tool. And I try to find exactly the same gradient, and then I just kind of drag it down. But because I end up failing quite a bit on that, I'm not going to do that right now. Let's just see spot healing, how far we can get. That's pretty good. Spot healing's gotten a lot better in the past 3 or 4 years. Back when I was first, I'm not a photographer. I was not a photographer by training. I'm a post-colonial literature idiot, basically, by training. But back when I was learning, basically crying my eyes out, not really, but trying to learn how to do Photoshop, it was overly complicated, and I had to do it for a job that I was working. I had no idea, and the tools back then, it was CS2, so it was pretty advanced already. It was 2004, 2005. They were pretty good, but they pale in comparison to sort of just how overly simple they are to just get. That don't look good at all. That does not look good. All right, but you know what? We're just gonna go there. We're just gonna leave it there, because I think later on when I add some noise, it's gonna clean that up a bit. Knock on wood. That's fake wood. That's real wood. Cross your fingers and all that. All right, let's see if there's any more big stuff. This is bad here. With these sort of long pieces of dust or whatever this is, you can try to clone out the entire thing, or not clone, but you can try to rub it out all together. That actually worked pretty well. But usually, let's see here. Usually what I try to do is, if I have one that's giving me some trouble, I'll just kind of get rid of a spot and then go down a little bit more. This one doesn't seem to make any difference. So we're just going to get rid of the entire thing. That seems pretty good. But there's a bunch of old tricks. And if you watch a whole bunch of different photographers, they all kind of give you a whole bunch of different tricks. And some of them are, a lot of them, I suppose, are much, much better at this sort of thing than I am. Or they just hired a retoucher. I've never hired a retoucher. I was actually approached by some, and then I ended up hiring on a short-term basis or trial or whatever you call it, a couple of retouchers, and I was not happy with what they did. There's a thing with retouching. I think if your photography itself is a product, let's say you're part of a massive $100,000 or $200,000 photo advertising push for some new massive product, a car or something like that. Your photograph is just one tiny part of the entire whole. And at that point, you know, you that pull the triggers and set the lights and all that, that's all that matters. Your retouching, you're going to find someone as good or better than you. And they can be as far away removed from the end product as anyone, and it's not going to bother you. But when it comes to something that you're more intimately involved in, like you're a small team, or you're, you know, the product or the company that you're shooting for are also smaller, and, you know, keeping it all in-house also keeps things much more, you know, it's much less complicated. And I tend to like that. But basically for magazines, etc., if I can't fully have an image basically ready to go within 5 minutes, it's basically a failure, because magazines, it depends on the magazine, but what I've tended to shoot for, it's high volume. So the images, they'll want like 200. I think the top was about 200 images for a magazine shoot, sometimes a little bit more than that. But generally between 100 and 200 images. And if you, between setting things up, dusting things off, you know, processing the raws, taking the photographs, charging batteries and all that, if you, by the time you're editing a file, if you have not been able to finish something, you know, in 5 minutes, you're losing money essentially. So, however, if you're getting, let's say your photographs per image, let's say you're getting in between, let's see, in between 100 to 200 bucks per image. Now that's the final image, right? What they pay for, 200 bucks or 100 bucks for an image. If they're paying for that, then you have quite a bit more time. I would say up to about 30 minutes to an hour. But of course, that's post-production. So it could have taken you a couple of tries to get that done before. That includes all the setup, that includes everything. So when it comes out, I don't know what it works out to, like your hourly wage, but that sounds, maybe it sounds pretty good to you guys, 100 bucks per image. It ends up not being that much. There's some magazines that will shoot, if you get a cover for something like Macworld or something, you're going to get some thousands of dollars for that. But yeah, simple images for simple magazines. Basically, if I'm not able to do it in 5 minutes, it's pointless. Also, if you're shooting for a small magazine and you're shooting like 8 megapixels or 10 megapixels, small blemishes won't show up so much. But I just want to kind of sit here and do this for a while. Let's go back to the chat, see if anyone's, hey, the Moonshine Graffiti, hey, these balls, how you doing, man? Yeah, got a beard. Yeah. Also, by the way, regarding this beautiful player recorder here, one of the cool things about it is the buttons are extremely well placed. So not only do you have this kind of, you know, combination keyboard over here with a very well placed enter and repeat button, which Sony got worse. A lot of companies get worse in design as they go on. Sony definitely have. Over the years, they made probably the most, in some ways, this is the best titler ever that they ever made. But as time went on, they started to place their buttons in less and less easy to access places. And here you have stop, which, look at the design language here. Stop is at the bottom. There's no farther place that you can get on the unit itself before your finger drops off the unit. So that's a great place to stop, just as you would stop before a cliff. It's basically telling you what to do. And between play is pause. It's just, the design language is great. It is a little bit tricky here, where you have skipping or tracking plus track change in 2 different buttons. But of course, that was something that was generally figured out a little bit later in the digital product catalog of many different companies. They ended up putting these 2 button combinations, the functionality of both, into a single button later on. But they don't have that now. But anyway, that's great. If you look at this unit here, the play button is on the side here, and it's also, you can't really see it here, but it's combined with volume. And then you have stop or cancel combined into one button, but it's in the middle of the unit, and there's no design language that says stop, like your finger's about to reach the edge, or there's nothing natural that comes to your fingers that then basically conveys the meaning of it. And play is in the middle of stop and record. Very, very bad design. This unit here is hard to use. Great sounding, but it's just not worth it, in my opinion, from a design standpoint. All right, let's get rid of this here. All right. By the way, I was not supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to be at a small party, a farewell for a friend. And fortunately, our mutual friend ended up having a backache. Poor guy. Hope you wish him better. But the reason I'm doing this tonight is because I got nothing else to do. I could watch a movie, could read a book. I figured, you know, it'll be nice to talk to the air for a little bit, for a little while. If anyone comes, then we chat. We chat. All right, got right there. Okay, see this here? In between the C and the K, we have to do something there. We got the time. I'm going to make a really tiny selection here, or use the clone stamp tool here. And we got a smear here. We just want to take care of. Bring in the texture a little bit here. All right, and then we're going to, interestingly enough, the way the Fujifilm X-T3 renders this sort of noise, as well as the model pattern of the unit here, ends up that you get sort of swirlies around the names, which is something it would be pointless to try to fix. So we're not going to do that, but we are going to go here. We're just going to make sure that that white ain't sticking up like that. All right, zoom back out. We're missing just a couple of pieces. Yeah, just right there, right there, right there, right there. Yeah, okay. Anything more? Ah, look at this nasty thing here. All right. This bad boy may cause us some trouble. But what I will do here is going to go, we'll go to the patch tool and I'll try to select it here. This is still going to, you know what? The patch tool is not going to work because then I'm going to have trouble with this. Let's just see what happens because the light's going to be a little bit weird. That worked ridiculously well. It's a little bit light though. Right? Hey, I want to get, wait, no, did it wrong. Go back. Ah, well, okay, I screwed that up. All right, let's go here. Just redo that. Let's see here. Looks like the shadows, got to line up the shadows, make sure. Zoom out, always zoom out. Is a change you did completely obvious? It's a good thing to check for. Nah, seems all right. We're going to keep this on the logo down again. Got to change back to the spot healing brush. Just rub these out. Just rub these out. Rub these out. Quick. Again, would never do this for a magazine that's just paying like normal magazine wages. Not worth it. Now, of course, if you made a huge mistake, you better reshoot that. You don't give a mistake. You never submit some sort of bad mistake to anyone. That is a bad idea. All right. Clean that up. Clean that up. Clean that up. Clean that up. By the way, I probably should, before I mention anything else, we're just going to finish. That's the Sony. I'm not going to do any more on the big one. This image, basically, if you can see the lights behind me, there's a big light there. It's just basically a light like that shooting from the back. I actually took this in a couple of segments, and I'm not going to bring in the other photograph that I added here, but it's basically shooting from the back in order to get this sort of like long, low contrast, well, high contrast, but low angularity, a shadow or whatever it is, to come across the front and give good lighting over the front, but also soften the shadows, but give them good dark shadows. Now, what I did in the published article or whatever, I added a reflector here right below both units, and all that I did was take this image, and then the second image, I put the reflector just underneath it to bring back the light here on the disc parts. And you know what? I don't know where that file is right now, actually. I'm changing computers again. So I'm not going to show you that, but just basically how I would edit this thing. Now we're just going to go quickly over here to the smaller Sony unit to see if there's anything I got to do some here. Should have done BSG. Yes, we should have. By the way, the dude here that's saying should have done BSG, this is the dude that hurt his back. Hope you're doing better, my friend. All right. BSG, by the way, is Battlestar Galactica. If any of y'all have watched that or haven't watched, where is my mouse? All right. If any of y'all have watched that or haven't, sorry, you really should. It's a great series. Whether or not you like science, whether or not you like, work or not, but you should watch it. Even skip a couple of days of work. That's what people are doing back when that came out. Now, this unit here, if you notice, there's a lot of horizontal striations here, which they used to call brushed metal, which was popular back in this time. These things are kind of buggers, but the way I'll attack it is I'll put the clone tool again. I'll just find, see if we can do it. Just find this line here, clone it here, and then try to line it up right there. See if we can clean this. This is actually a blemish. It's the unit itself has got a whole bunch of, it's old, you know, it's been sat on probably. All of these units, none of the units, of course, I have, and that anyone has of any mini disc is any newer than 15 years old. And a lot of these were used inside of people's pockets, etc. So that took care of that blemish. Looks all right. There's not much more to do on this part. I was wrong. Here we are. Same sort of thing here. There's some gunk. I'm not going to do a perfect one of this because that actually requires the way I would do it. We'll see. We'll see. Moonshine Graffiti is here, so I didn't line that up properly. We'll do it here. Let's see. It's hard to tell. Let's make it bigger. That's what she said. All right, that looks good. Okay, now make it smaller. That's what he said. All right. I'm just gonna use that clone tool in there. Now the problem is if you overuse the clone, wherever you started, is it going to be duplicated all over the place, and it's going to be very obvious what you did. So sometimes you got to then attack the angles. Come in from the other side here, and then I think it's all right. It's all right. You don't want to, don't want to do too much, and then just kind of randomly add something like that to give it a bit of nature, you know, a little bit of nature. Nurture the nature right in there. Let's go over here and just see if we can massage that in. I don't like where that's going. However, see what we can do here, guys. Let's see here. All right, see what we can do. See what we can do. See what we can do. Pressing my luck. I think I'm pressing my luck here. Pressing my luck. Pressing my luck. Pressing my luck. I'm just cloning in. I'm pressing my luck. Pressing my luck. And now what we're going to do, go from the other angle right here, from the cloned part, and then just try to add a little mystery there. A little mystery box for you Star Wars fans, fake Star Wars fans. Zoom out. All right, check it out. It's before and after. Not, you know, you wouldn't, for production, I wouldn't want to do that for production. Let's see if we can just add in a little bit of, just bring in a little bit of random nature from here. Just a little bit of random nature. See, that's, it's getting close right there. Just, it's not perfect though, but just a little bit of nature right there. And it's like something was done there, but it's not overly obvious. Not overly obvious. We're not going to do a full one. Like I say, we're not going to do a full one. That would be a big mistake. Okay, so that part's done. We're just going to save this file. We're going to save it. I just like to call it edit. Boom, like that. Now we got 2 layers. The smart thing to do would then again just be to clone. You know what? The way. Okay, let me show you this. This background here, these blemishes, I'm not going to try to erase those with a brush. It's not going to work. And even if it did, that would take too much time. This background I've had for years, and I need to replace it because every single time I use it, I have to do the same thing now, no matter how well I clean it. It's an aluminum backdrop. By the way, didn't do this yet. Cheers. It's an aluminum backdrop. It's served many years. It looks gorgeous, brand new. The way it reflects back the light, you can put a drink, you can put anything on this backdrop, and if you light it, the product well enough, there's something luxurious about it. But at the moment, like I said, it's in bad shape. So what you gotta do, this is doctoring evidence. Oh man, what's this? I recall, just a moment here. We got someone here. Jube8891. Hey buddy, on the subject of Minidisc, is there such a thing as a dedicated 8cm disc player? Just a moment here. Okay, this disc here, You know, I don't know the diameter of the. By the way, I should have checked this out. Okay, I don't know the diameter of a mini disc, but I'm gonna guess that they're not 8 centimeters, and because none of these players are their slot ain't any bigger than whatever this is, you're not going to be able to put an 8 millimeter in there or 8 centimeter there. So sorry about that. All right. Okay, I have yeah. Okay. Wait just a moment. All right. We got a couple of comments here from a couple of wise guys. All right. Pardon me just a moment. All right. We're gonna like take this straight on the subject of mini array. I recall Compaq had an 8 centimeter disc player that could play MP3 files. That probably was a zip disc. Zip discs are different, and there was even one other type of thing. And of course, Sony had their own Viva thing, not Viva. What's that? A PSP thing. They had different discs. They should have used Minidisc High MD. They didn't. Let's see. Are you using a mouse or a pad? You came in a bit late, Jube. It's this thing. It's a cheap Wacom. It's not even one of the high-end ones. My high-end one broke, and I'm not going to buy a new one. It's called the Intuos 6100ML. Not sure what it is. It does Bluetooth, which is nice. And funnily enough, if I connect it via USB to charge is fine. But then whilst I'm using it, maybe I can show you. It stutters. Here, let's connect it. Let's watch the mouse. Actually, it's not doing so bad, right? Okay, just as I say, it's not so bad. But usually it stutters a bit. So when I'm trying to do my work, it's just bloody rubbish. But at the moment, it's basically the same. Now, another thing to note, if you guys are doing any sort of retouching, you'll note also that, especially on a Mac, even a powerful Mac, what is the other application I use? It's so much faster. It's called Affinity Photo by Serif, the company Serif. It blazing rotation, everything on Photoshop. This is what it's like. Later on, I'll show you what Affinity Photo is like if we got the time, if anyone's even watching. But yeah, it's blazingly fast. On Photoshop's a lot slower. Anyway, this is doctoring evidence. Okay, all right, wise guy. This is let's say you had a photo shoot for a magazine. Boom. All right. Now, as for whenever you're going to list something on eBay, by the way, don't. But if you're going to list something on eBay, don't ever clean something up. By the way, I got a new mini disc player in today. I got it from Yahoo Auction, and the company, it's an actual company that sold it, were like, it has a little bit of scoring inside the battery compartment, so you can't put a battery inside and then use it on the go, because you'll have to use the stand. And I've taken these things apart, soaked them in either vinegar, not the entire thing, but the battery compartment in either vinegar or what's the other thing? Acetone, not acetone. Some sort of like lemon acid, whatever the lemon acid is, chloric acid. You can get rid of the scoring and then use a battery again, no problem. So I was like, okay, cool. And the photos that they showed looked great. It works. What I got was a unit missing 2 front screws. This is a Japanese company, by the way. All right, missing the 2 front screws. The disc doesn't go in without, like, when you put in a disc, this is what's supposed to happen. There's supposed to be a catch. So you take a disc here, you pop it in, and look at that. It doesn't go down all the way. You pop it down, and there's like a little spring-loaded action that when you pop it down, basically falls back into the unit. You close it. Now, when you open the unit, if it's a one-touch unit like this, the disc pops out as you open it. Other units, you have to pull open the clamshell, and then it will eject it. Well, that part is broken too, so it didn't come out on the little spring. And then the lid wouldn't close properly. Anything else? There's one other problem. I don't remember what it was, but they basically put something forward that does not work. They lied, and their Yahoo Auction have absolute no protections for the buyer. If you're buying from abroad, then the company that's kind of in the middle between you and the original seller will do all the hard work. However, if you're just a regular buyer, there's nothing there. Yahoo Auction take 10% of the proceeds from the person selling, plus any advertisements that you add onto it, but there's no protection for either one. It's rubbish. Anyway, let's get back to the Photoshop. Oops. No, not photo booth. Oh, man. Why did I do that? Okay, go back to Photoshop here. And the way that I fix the background like this is actually laborious for this computer here. Let's see if I got it. Adjustments here. Is it my adjustments? Shoot. History. Actions. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull this down here. So I have, it's a median thing. If you want to do it, let's see here. If you want to do it manually, you go up to Filter, Add Noise. Oh, no, sorry. Noise. And then Median. And then, by the way, this is what a 300 median looks like. If you add that, it blurs basically everything to all hell. But yeah, let's see if I can do this properly. Let's try it. Hit OK. And on my computer, it takes a very long time to do it. I haven't tried it on the new M1 Mac. This is the Intel version. It's supposed to be more powerful, but it takes quite a long time. A 300 median takes a long time. A 5 median doesn't. Now, the reason why I'd use a median is because it blurs all the details, but it keeps... it doesn't blur it like a Gaussian blur. So what you get is edges remain intact. And that's important because when you're sort of fixing the median around a unit like an MD player or something like a lens or something like that, if you're blurring the edges of the unit themselves, then there's trouble. Now, of course, you can... The best way to do this is take the background first. I didn't do it here. Take the background first, shoot it, boom. That's your background. Then put the units on it, shoot them, boom. You take them off and you clone them onto the background, okay? And then you clone in your reflectors and all that. And then it's perfect. But I didn't do that here, so we have to do this the hard way. And I'm just going to name this 300. Haven't seen that movie, by the way. I hear it's... Rename. How do I rename this bad boy? I thought I could just like click it and it would... There we are. 300 median. All right. Now, that doesn't look so good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to... normally, by the way, if you're just going to do one layer of this sort of thing, that you then want to add a little bit of noise, because any sort of brush stroke that you add is going to make some sort of weird smudgy on the screen. But I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm just going to do is go up to layer, and then I'm going to hide all. Boom. It's all back. And take a brush, and because the mask here is black, I'm going to select a white brush here. All right. And then I'm just going to get a big old brush, and I'm just going to see how far I can brush things out like this. Now, if I brush too far, what's going to happen is you're going to see me blur the unit itself. If we go in closer, you'll see what I mean. So I'm just kind of brushing out. That's too big of a brush. Just brushing out these things. If you notice, the digital noise here, if you zoom out, kind of looks like wave patterns there. But you go in, it's not so bad. But there will be a problem, and it's I understand people call it dithering problem and some sort of like bit depth problem. I don't know. But you just want to be careful around the edges of things, because eventually, if you'll... Let's see here. How do I disable layer mask? You'll see that this edge here is going to... If you brush in here, then this edge is going to show up. So bring this back. Enable layer mask. Okay. Now, these things are huge blemishes. Just going to brush over them. And look, they're kind of going away, which is nice. Again, if you're doing a high volume magazine shoot, this is a total waste of time. The best way to do it, shoot the background first, add the images later. But even then, that wouldn't be... I wouldn't recommend that for a high volume magazine shoot. The best way, you got to have a good clean background. You do not want to do this a lot. I'm going to go close in and just see if you look. Watch this. So right now, where I've brushed here to clean up the background, there's no real darkness that's going in between the parts that I've brushed and the parts I haven't. However, if I brush a little bit closer, it starts to get dark right there, and that looks awful. So I'm going to back that off. Always zoom out. See, you know what? All of that's too close. All right. What happens is the median's going to end up darkening this area, and then what'll happen is the thing that you're trying to blur out will then take that color. So you want to be careful with one of these big median sort of blurs. You want to be careful to stay pretty far away from the object. Otherwise, you're going to get some weird color coming in. So I'm just going to stay about... Probably don't want to get any closer than this. I'll just go around here, just kind of do the bottom. The 300 median is just going to just blow away all the really, really bad stuff. And then we're going to come in with a 150 and then a 50 and then a 5. The 5 is like the fine comb that you would use to massage a garden right at the end. The The 50 is like the weak blunt force trauma. The 300 is like, it's like nuclear bomb, just fix any huge problems. All right, there we are. Yeah, I'll see if there's any wise guys in the chat anymore. Yeah, well, okay, okay, so I got a comment here from Moonshine. I've never had any issue with Yahoo Auction. Yeah, well, I haven't had a lot of them. I've had what, 500, 600, 700, no, 563, something like that, interactions. And the ones that have been bad have been extremely bad, but it's only like 9 or 10 out of 500. And so it's not a lot to stick out, but unfortunately they've been bad. And those 5 or 10 that stick out of 500, doesn't sound like a lot, really stick out in a very negative way. Okay, so I'm going to take this, go back to what I was doing. Wise guys sort of cooled down. So I'm probably not going to go any closer to the body. Again, I'll just show you what happens. I could very easily clean that line that you see here underneath the mouse with the median. If I do that, actually that doesn't look so bad, but it's probably going to eventually end up running up against some sort of blur that's under here. So I'm just not going to, I don't want to possibly damage the photograph. So what I'm going to do finally is just make a huge brush and make sure I've got all the corners done. Why am I doing this? The reason is because I told you there's kind of these weird digital sort of noise and digital sort of patterns that get introduced when you do this. You want to make sure that the entire image is uniform. So if you do some parts of it with the median and some parts you don't, you'll end up getting a final image that just looks a little wonky. So just going to make sure everywhere on this place has been touched. Okay, now I'm just going to apply this. How do you apply? It's been a while since I used, not merge down, merge. Where's merge visible? I know what I'm doing. Merge, no, merge, no, not. I want to apply. No, just a moment, guys. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Apply layer mask. That doesn't sound right. Why can't I? I used to know what I'm doing. I haven't been using this merge down. No. Okay, I found it. Okay, so we're gonna duplicate this right here, and what I'm gonna do is these two layers here. What I'm gonna do is just gonna merge them together. One is, by the way, so this one here, the one I have selected here is just the one that I, well, for instance, if I get rid of this layer here and this layer here, so it's just basically the one that I got rid of all the dust. It's like the dust map, I guess. So the dust map and then the median we're going to put together, merge into a new layer. Okay. Now this is my new, this is the 300 median that I just did. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to step down to a 150 median. Now I'm not going to go back up. Okay, we'll do it one more time. But I'm going to duplicate this just to be fair. We're going to go and we're going to call it 150. Once my, why does that not come up? 150 median. Median. Right. So we go up to filter, noise, median. And sometimes you don't have to go down to 150. Sometimes you can go straight to 50. But I just, you know what? Whatever. We're doing it this way. 150. Now we just wait. I'm just gonna go over to the chat, see if anyone's chatting. Kind of like sandpaper, right? Yeah, it's just like sandpaper. It's, in fact, like I said, I wasn't trained in Photoshop, so I had to figure things out. And once you understand that the digital tools mimic something that's in real life, then you just try to find some sort of digital tool that mimics something that you know in real life, and then you sort of logically apply what seems to work. And this is one way that I found that sort of works. And by the way, the median thing was introduced by, I believe he's at least the first time I heard about it was a photographer by the name of Photogy. That's not his name. It's like Alex Kosovo or something like that. And I originally used it in like 2014 or close after he started talking about it to clear off on a shiny surface of like a window, like one of these display here. I'll show you. Let's see here. Like for instance, this display, if there was like tiny scratches, median, like a 5 or a 10 median is very good for cleaning that stuff up, as long as you don't have any text or something else underneath. And so I started using that for that. And then eventually I found that I could use it for other things. So anyway, yeah. So this is a 150 median. Now what we're going to do, again, we're going to go up to layer. We're going to mask it out. So hide all. And we're going to bring back, again, a white brush because the mask is black. And now we're going to get closer into the unit. So I'm going to use a smaller brush. Not too small, but smaller brush. And we're going to go in closer to places where we were kind of screwing up the colors a little bit earlier. Okay, smaller brush, probably about like this. I'm just going to test to see where it starts to get weird. Okay, it starts to get to weird about here. So I'm not going to go that far in. And I'm not going to go any farther in than that even. I could, but I don't want to. I just want to make sure that the 150, by the way, isn't enough of a blur to kill really big smudges, but it's great for killing medium-sized smudges. And see, how far can I go on this? I can go pretty far. Okay, so I'm gonna venture about like this. The good thing about the median versus the Gaussian, again, is that you can do it pretty close to a hard edge. A Gaussian would blur the edge, and let's just zoom in again. Watch. It doesn't blur the edge; it keeps the hard edge. So that's really nice about the median blur for this sort of work. I've been using it as a backbone to my, well, what was my main business for 6 or 7 years, or at least to not the background of the business, but the background to like just fixing stuff up for magazines or for advertising. So that looks. Let me back up here. See, what's this? Doesn't seem to be. That seems to be okay. So, but we're still gonna be careful here. You still have to be careful. The median is not. It's not a panacea. You're not going to be able to. How's that going? Yeah, that's. Okay. Something wrong there. We're not going any farther than that. Well, if we can, we'll come back and do that. But we're gonna hold back here because I'm feeling a little bit uneasy around that corner. Always trust your gut. Modern education is trying to make sure that you as an individual or you as a culture do not trust your gut. Do not trust instincts that are buried there and given to you, gifted from God or from evolution or from like countless generations trying to get along in the world and surviving because they chose the best decisions over time or the decisions that allowed them to survive. Modern education tries to get you to ignore that. Well, I'm telling you right here, same thing with photography or post-production. If your gut is saying, dude, you've gone too far, you've gone too far. Trust your gut. All right. Try it, even when you're doing like what are these called? Products rather than just people. Okay. Even when you're doing that, you don't want to go too far. There's a tendency, there's people, basically I found people that go either too far or don't go far enough. There's some people that take photographs and by the way, Fujifilm, one of those companies. I find that they hire an eclectic bunch of photographers. So to do I'm not talking about to advertise their products in terms of this is what it can do for a wedding. No, I mean like the photographers that they hire to shoot their products are either very detail-oriented or not detail-oriented. And a lot of them don't really do, I find, dust and other things on their images when they're advertising a product. The lighting is weird. Either you get like kind of a plastic sheen to something, or there's other problems. And so it's kind of a weird. That looks all right. Don't go farther. Don't go farther, dude. I feel it. Don't go farther. So it's kind of weird looking at the way different companies do it. Canon and Nikon just do like basically perfection. Okay, so it looks like we got a couple of things here. This one I'm pretty sure is not going to screw up. So okay, that's just my check. I'm going to go over here. Just get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Okay, that looks like we're still doing okay. We're going to go down to a 50 next, and I've set up a macro to do 50, 150, and 5 or 10 or something like that. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to apply this. Right. Just to be careful, right at the end, go over everywhere. Make sure the entire thing, even the places that you can't see, are all medianed out, because otherwise you're going to get some weird artifacts. Just got to make sure to remember that. You don't want to get the artifacts at the end. If you add noise at the end, it'll fix most problems, but you just don't you don't want to chance it, you know? So, by the way, I've got a problem here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the color of the brush to, what color? To black. We're just going to get rid of that there. There's a weird line going there. I don't like that. Okay, so sometimes you got to do that. Good thing about using layers is you can make mistakes and you can bring stuff back. Okay. Right, yeah. Should have trusted my gut there. Okay, now go back to, okay, white. Make a larger brush here. We're just going to get around the corners here. Make sure we're not, it looks like there's some black thing in there that I'm not fixing up yet. All right, let's see here. Up, across the top, across the top. Yeah, so anyway, if modern education tries to get you to not trust your gut, not trust your nose, not to smell things, not to test things, you know, but your body knows, your soul knows, your sort of, the spirit of your people knows. The spirit of my people's like, dude, you went too far. And in fact, I think the spirit of my people's like, you went too far here too. So I'm just gonna right under there, like that. Boom. Just one more time, just one more time right there. Okay, so that's safe. That's all safe. Now, gonna next time we're gonna duplicate that so that we see every step in the process. 150 median. We're gonna merge layers. I think I got it. Okay, so let's just look at the 300 median. That's this one. You're not going to see much difference here. Not going to see much difference, but it's the small steps that really matter. The 150 just cleans up around the edges just a little bit more. And now we're going to go to 50. All right. So let's just duplicate this again, and we're going to go 50 median. Can't spell. Right. Isn't this such an exciting stream? It's such an exciting stream for a Saturday night, Friday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Monday night, Monday night. All right. Now, I've got a macro here, so we don't have to do the, we'll just go median 50 and hit play. Watch this. I used to use an iMac Pro, and it was faster for this sort of thing and had a big screen, so there was a lot more real estate. Let's go back to layers. So this is my median 50 copy. It's basically already made the mask. It's even selected the brush, so looks like we're good. At least I think it's selected the brush. Now, 50 median, let's see how far it'll let me get in there before making, oh, look at that. Look at that. I can go right over the shadow, and there's no sort of weird blurring. Where it will blur is right here as this sort of vertical or half vertical line meets the shadow. So I wouldn't want to brush over there, because then the shadow is going to dip up or dip forward or whatever you want to call it into the unit itself. So that's the only place I really want to be careful here. But otherwise, I can even go into the shadow, and if I see some blemishes in the shadow itself, then I can fix them. So I'll go down like this. I don't see anything there, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go there as far as I feel like I can go. Trust my nose here. By the way, I was listening on Telegram. There's this group I'm in, and can't remember what they're called. I do remember the call, but probably shouldn't say it. And they were talking about different nose shapes sort of being denoted by your birth sign. My birth sign, my sun birth sign, by the way, I don't know much about astrology. It's supposed to be Libra, I think. I'm October. Now, I don't know my moon sign or however it goes, but there's a whole bunch of things that sort of influence possibly how you look, how you think, how you act. And you know, I think there's some truth to that. But anyway, my nose is saying this is going to be, it looks all right so far. We're going to make a bigger brush here. We're just going to go wild in this area. Libra's gone wild. Yeah. Libra's gone wild. Oh, yeah. Looks good. Looks good. I'm not seeing any damage here. But we're still going to be careful around these areas. And we're just going to go slowly in to here and just see what happens. Okay, looks good. And that's going to kill that little blemish there. I might have to do something right at the end. Let's see here. All right, looks good. I'm just going to check the chat. Anyone chatting? Feels like Friday night. Yeah, feels like Friday night. It does feel like Friday night. Like you said, maybe we'll try Friday night. By the way, again, Moonshine Graffiti's my He's my best good friend, as Forrest Gump would say it. Although he never wants to meet me anymore. He says that there's like extenuating circumstances that I'm like a little nose drip can't come between two friends. Now we're getting close to this unit here, and this is gonna be kind of the test. What I found with a 50 median is, as long as the circle of the brush is not directly touching the unit, you can get very clean cleanups for the backgrounds going around a unit. If you have real trouble, you can actually just sort of use a selection tool. Ooh, I just borked that a little bit. You got to be careful because the brush is actually a little bit bigger than what you see. It's like a mirror on a car. Don't want to get too close. Now, this is where I'm going to leave this part. I'm going to leave it like that. I'll show you. I'll tell you why later, or maybe I'll just tell you now in case I forget. We're going to add noise later on, and that's probably going to fix that. Now, to those people who are like, this would be seen, this is raw manipulation. Well, I'm kind of showing you the basics of what you would do for kind of like, I don't know if this is low level advertising photography cleanup. It's like, we're not doing any rebuilding of the unit. We're not doing anything, really serious here, but we're just kind of cleaning up things that need to be cleaned up. You can't advertising, everything you see that's advertising is all lies, all of it. The unit that you see in that light maybe it looks that good, but the photograph didn't look that good. It might have come close, but let's see here. Okay, we're going to be careful around here. Careful. Don't go too far. Now, I'm going to test to see right here on this black spot if I can. Don't do it. That was wrong. Yeah, we're going to have to do something later. So I'm going to go right in here to the edge. Look at that. Watch this. Right here. I went there. It's getting dark right there. So don't want to go any farther than that. Just going to go rub right over here. It's good stuff. Rub right there. Rub right there. And like I said, there's probably people that have a much better way of doing this. However, I found over the years, if you have a background, and let's say you weren't smart enough to clean up your background or shoot with a new background. Usually, if I got a client that was spending good money, I would purchase a background just for that company. So part of the payment, part of what they paid for was me basically outfitting my studio every single time with something new that would look great and that would be set up just for them. However, I'm not doing that right now. So we got the thing that I've used for years, mainly for magazines. And there's, like I said, a whole bunch of cute ways you can sort of do this without screwing up, for the magazine. So, okay, wow, this unit. If only this MZ-1 was a little bit smaller, we'd be done by now. It's a beautiful unit. Powerful headphone amp. If only it didn't hiss, that thing would be... And if it got better than like 2 hours of battery life, it would be great. Although I hear if you put in alkalines and you have some sort of shunt that works with them, you can actually get, I think, 4 to 5 hours battery life out of it. So that's not good, but it's actually not any worse than some high-end DAPs out there. So my nose is saying we can go right up to the edge here. Now, normally I would select this here and make sure that I can't actually dig into the unit, or I would dig slightly into the unit and then select the unit itself and the shadow separately, and then I would magnify them over all of this blur if I had to do this. And again, I say normally if I had not, bought a brand new thing. So a whole bunch of different ways to do this. Maybe one day what I'll do is I'll redo that sort of, hey, this is how you shoot a product. Last time it turns out that I was a little bit nervous and I tried to use a setup for a different earphone. It didn't work well for the one that I ended up shooting, which is basically the same light as this one. So That's one. It's also a good light for blog, just to attract readers' attention. It's not a great one for showing details unless you use a reflector to bring back again. Put a reflector right here in this area, just a white piece of paper, that preferably one that you've done a white balance check on before, or for that shoot, and then you bring it back in, and then you have a very nope, too much for the nose. All right, not gonna go any farther than that. Right there, there we are. And now I'm just gonna get a slightly bigger brush, and you know what? We've said this before, so I'm just gonna look. Where have I not? Just get the big brush, and we're just gonna around all of the other stuff. Get all the edges here so that I'm not missing anything, so we don't have any sort of weird incongruent median problems later on, because you don't want to have that. All right, going around the corner here, just above the unit. Looks like I'm gonna have to go in smaller. That's what she said. That's what she said. So here, right there, going in. Let's check the chat. Hey, 3 people watch. Freedom goes out the window when there's a pen. Oh man, did you seriously say that word in my? Oh, man, this guy's trying to get me deplatformed. I'm already gone on Twitter. Second time. Now this D's-balls guys. He's trying to get me gone on YouTube. I don't know, man. I don't know. Disavow. Where's the moderators? David is a moderator. Not David. Don't know his name. D's-balls. Just call him D's-balls. He's a moderator. All right. That looks good enough for me. Let's see. Screw up or scroll. No, I missed a whole section here, man. Never miss a section. Make sure your nose is telling you exactly what you got to do. And there we are. All right. Let's say it's not perfect. That's good enough. All right. Now, we is gonna select that and that, and we's gonna go. I think I've done this right. So we have a median 50 copy, a median 150, and a median 30. What we're gonna do, we'll copy one more time, and we go 5. And this is where the pencil was rolling off my desk. This is where you guys free to argue amongst yourselves, because this is gonna be boring. All right, median 5. And that will be the last median channel I do. And we're gonna add some noise and call it quits with this editing section here. All right, see here. All right, so median 5 basically takes no time at all. It's much easier on the system to do. So, by the way, I got 2 warm beers in front of me. That's not good. All right. Small brush this time. We're not going to touch this stuff over here. However, there's a small bit of shadow. Just going to go quickly up. 5 median usually will not destroy any edge. But if you go over the edge, all the way to the edge, if you look closely, I'm not sure if you can see on your screen, but you see how there's kind of a bit of lightness here? What you can do is you brush exactly the edge, and basically that lightness, which is introduced by the various medium blurs, is gone. So you don't want to go too close over. If you have intricate sort of locking patterns, this will sort of brush those away. So you want to be careful. But overall, this is a great way with a median 5 to clean up right around the edges. And that looks okay. One thing with the APS-C sensors is because you got quite a bit of noise in the image already, even at ISO 100, some of that noise is going to play havoc with your medians. And so you can end up blurring some of the noise. If you have a really steady hand, it's not, I don't have the most steady hand. Normally, like I said, what I would do is I would isolate each of the units with a box around them and give it a little bit of a feather. I'm not going to do that today because it's just too much work. But we're just going to kind of slowly. I don't know. Is he doing it right? His nose is like, dude. Oh, what's that? Stop it. All right. I grabbed one of the lines. You know what? I don't like this. I'm going to take that out. I don't like it. We're going to take that out. The way you do it, as always, is you just change the color of your brush. All right. We're going to go back in and just see if we can get right. Now, you know what? I'm not going to. This is too far. The noise in the X-T3 is basically screwing it up because the modeled pattern on the MZ1 is then screwing up and kind of joining with the noise here. So what we're going to do is later on when we add noise back into the image, it's probably going to fix things enough. So what I'm going to do is if I find just a little bit too much median stuff here or noise, I'm just going to first delete the noise before I add it back in. It's a weird way to do it, but it works. All right. Come down here. Right there. Right there. Yeah, looks good. Any wise guys in the chat right now? They'd tell you what. It's true, though. I mean, this is obviously not a raw. I mean, it is a raw file, but it's obviously not, you know, it's been doctored. Fortunately, I'm not sending this to like National Geographic saying that I really did see a pelican eating a whale on top of Mars and Alex Jones hunting both. Let's see here. Right here, right on the edges. And this one looks okay because we went with the 50. We went right to the edge here. Now, here's where we didn't dare go with the 50 or the 150 or the 300. Now we're not going to go with a 5 either, actually, because that is going to be destroyed. Let's see here. I will go right over this one more time. Now with the 5, I'm not going to then go over the entire image like I did with the 50 and all that. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. The 5 is going to come in here, however, and hopefully clean up right. Yeah, that's not visible. Right around here. So what the 50 and the 150 and the 350 would have done is they would have blurred these two shadows together, and that wouldn't have been good. But the 5 will do the trick. And even a 10 might have done the trick, but we're not going to do the 10. So that's all right. And we're going to go around this unit. Looks like that shadow's okay. So good. Just make the brush just a bit bigger. By the way, if you'll notice that the shadow here sticks out just a little bit more and it's closer here. What I did is I just propped both units up a little bit. I think I put like a rubber stopper underneath the big Sony and something roughly like to the same degree underneath a small Sony. And it worked out real well. At least I think so. Now, let's see if we'll be able to use a 5 over here. No, don't go far. Don't go far. Yep, that looks all right. Right. So what I'm doing right now is actually kind of pointless because once I add back in the noise at the end, none of the fixes I've done to with the 5 right here are really going to show. The only ones that are going to show are right around the edge like that. And even then, I don't think you'd even see it unless you're really looking for it. The most important place is right here. So I get rid of this sort of dark and light bits right there. But I won't go any farther than that. And so basically what I will say that I'm done right here with this unit. So let's go 5 median and now median copy. And we were going to go to merge layers. So now what we have is a really boring stack here. 5 median copy, 50 median copy, 150 and 350. So you're not going to be able to tell the difference here, but we're going to zoom in. So without the 5, what you get is a little bit of noise around the bottom of this unit. Without the 50, that noise extends out farther. Without the 150, now you're starting to get background like scratches that are in not the thing that I'm trying to show off, but the background. And then once you take away the 300, oh, I have to zoom out for that, sorry. Let's try this again. The 300 basically took out the worst of them that were not touching the units themselves. So there we are. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go take the cleanup and the medians. Oh, got to make them all visible. And I'm going to merge them all. And so you can see what the before and after looks for this part. So we have the background and we have the median copy. The median copy has all the median sort of fixes in there. And let's just go close and plus all the blemish removal. Again, we didn't go whole hog, didn't go all the way, but let's take a look. So before, got some dust here. After, it's gone. Not perfectly gone, but relatively gone. Okay. And on this unit, not sure we have any real blemishes. Oh, we did. We had a blemish right here. Let's see what it looks like. After, basically okay, I guess. After, it's not perfect. If I were doing this, and I have, by the way, in advertising, there's a couple of units that I received, earphones, as well as some other units that had really real problems. Either they were dropped, cut, the CNC machine didn't work properly. So there was like a dent, and then the dent, when you're looking up, and these were shot at 1:1 on a medium format camera. So it was a Hasselblad back. So like the sensor's like this size, and the units were shot just like that, right inside. So 1:1 and at 50 megapixels. So what happens was those small pieces that at your eye, you couldn't really tell holding it out like what it was. Under magnifying glass, you're like, oh, there's something there. Once you blow that up to 50 megapixels with a really nice lens and a decent digital back, those problems they'll take up the entire screen. So fixing them, you could say, hey, company, you got to send out a new one across the world, but they're never going to get it exactly perfect. So you've got to reconstruct stuff, and that ends up taking a little while longer. But for advertising, you're not going to advertise. You're going to advertise dreams. You're not going to advertise reality in the same way. So I didn't reconstruct this in the way I would have for advertising stuff, but you have sort of the idea. Now, there's a couple other problems and a couple things I will do. With this medium copy, I'll just copy it again. Always, before you make any major changes, definitely copy the layer so you have a backup. Now, what I'm going to do is go up to filter, and we go back to noise. And I like to add noise. Another friend of mine was like, dude, why do you add noise? I'm like, well, yeah, why do I do that? How do I want to zoom in? Just a second here. I'm on a Japanese keyboard. Doesn't use a plus sign as well. Okay, we're going to add some noise here. Actually, you know what? First, before we add noise, why don't we sharpen just a bit? Go on sharp mask. It's my favorite way to sharpen. Let's take a look here. I don't want to do too much. Actually, you know what? I'm doing this wrong. It's been a little while since I've done stories. What we're going to do is we're going to first add the noise. I think. Am I doing this right? It's been a long time. Let's reduce noise. Let's try reducing noise first. It's been a while, man. How to go back. Go forward. For all of you guys who are actually professionals out there, like, dude, this guy's forgetting what he always does. I'm like, yeah, I kind of do forget things here and there. You know what? We'll just go that. We'll just say that's okay, and then we'll take that file again, and we are going to add noise now. Now, this will add noise across the entire image, and the reason you do that is it helps to blend in various different helps shadows, helps sharp bits, helps to cover over something, helps to uncover stuff. And I like to do it 3 times. So I'm just going to redo it. Now that's 3 times. Now that's not perfect. You know what? Here. I forgot to do one thing. Sorry, guys. Like, dude, what you doing? Delete that. Oh. Right, first, I forgot to do one thing. Sorry about this, guys. Guys. Right here. We're going to take the staple, not staple. What is this? Clone stool. The clone stool. Got the clone stool. Shoot it right here and see if we can just. That don't look right. That do not look right, man. Make it bigger. Okay. That may not look right at the moment. However, let's see here. That doesn't look right either, but a second here. Now this would be sort of reconstruction. Do it there. So the line is hard. And we're just going to mask it out. Mask her out. Mask her. That doesn't. Bring the hardness up with the brush. Go right in. Now I should draw a line here so that I'm not going to actually delete anything here. Oh, you know what I just realized? I'm not masking this. There should be a brush. Okay. That should. I was using a clone tool. Clone. I was using the clone tool. Using the clone tool. Don't use the clone tool, man. Right. There was problems there. It didn't look right. All right. So basically, I'm just getting rid of that the whiteness that's brought back by the line. Don't want that. Here on Fauxtaku Lounge, we are as anti-white as everyone else out there. So, got to make sure that you blend everything. Don't want the, can't have the whites having a home of their own. So there we are. Okay, there. So that kind of fixed, not perfectly, but not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. That kind of fixed that shadow, which I was having a little trouble with. And I think I don't want to do the same thing here, but I think don't do it, Nathan. Don't do it. I'm not going to do it. All right, we're not going to do it there. Yes, we're going to, Nathan, don't, I'm going to do it. All right. All right, I'm going to do it here. Right there. All right. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? This doesn't look right. What's going on here? You know what? Forget it. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Let's say that's working. Say that's working. All right, that's good enough. We'll go back down to medium 5. Merge layers. Now let's Nathan, you haven't been doing this for a while. Reduce the noise. All right. Again, with an APS sensor, you got to make sure you do this quite a bit. The APS sensors really add a lot of noise, especially, and this is the insane thing, when you're in a controlled light environment. When you're outside in the natural light, they're not so bad, but in the controlled light, they add so much noise that the details really get blurred, whether or not you have an X-trans problem in demosaic. Now I'm going to check the chat for just a second, have a sip here. All right. Not sure if you ever have to deal with anything similar as a photographer, but I'm trying to remove, by the way, this is another comment from Moonshine Graffiti. I'm trying to remove and or circumvent moire on a scanned image. Any suggestions? There's a moire tool, or moire, or however you say it, in Lightroom. Don't know if you have it. The problem is when you remove that, usually the moire shows up as like blue or yellow, right? When you remove it, you're going to also generally tend to go, what is it? You're going to end up going black and white. And I have had to remove it several times. A lot of times what the moire happens when you get like slightly blurry images, but lots of fine detail. And I don't usually have that, but if you've misfocused or if or the detail itself maybe isn't, I don't know what to say, like isn't that finely wrought in the image, then, but Lightroom has, I've never done it with Photoshop. I know there's a way to do it. Lightroom just has a tool for it. Lightroom's a great program. You know, I can't really fault it. By the way, my daughter and my wife just came home. If they come up, I will just say that I'll be at a couple more minutes. But what I'm going to do here, now that we've done the noise, we're going to do now. Here's my problem here. I haven't done this sort of thing for the last high-end photo shoot I did was like over a year ago. So I'm trying to remember. Did I do the add the noise after? I think I did. I think what I did was I did the sharpening and then I added noise. So let's just try that. But I have a feeling that I'm getting something a little bit wrong here. But let's just try this. Okay, so we're going to go back to sharpen, and unsharpen mask is my favorite way to do this. There are some other ways. If I were doing a high-end one, I would end up doing a high-pass filter. And there's one other one I can't remember the name of that I would do to bring out certain colors. But I'm not going to do that today. We're just going to say lickety-split with this. We've done the sharpening. Do we do the sharpening again? Let's look at the layers. Here's after sharpening, before sharpening. Now, you don't want to go crazy. You know what? Sorry, I just made a mistake. We want to... Okay, wait, is that... Sorry, guys. Okay, let's sharpen a new layer, okay? So we can just see what it's actually like. So filter, unsharp mask. All right, so before sharpening, I think. That's wrong. Sorry, guys. Back. That's been sharpened. There. Sharp. Shoot. There we are. That's an unsharpened. Okay, finally. Okay. Duplicate this. Unsharp mask. Now we have a sharpened image. Okay. So before and after. Don't want to get any sharper than that. I'm not gonna go crazy here. What we're gonna do here now is just add some noise. So noise, and I'm gonna do it 3 times. Usually I do it 3 times. Seems to be what works for me. No, that's not right. Not median. Nathan, you're screwing this up. Cancel. Takes a little while for the computer to respond. Noise. Add noise. There we are. 0.5. Add noise 0.5. Add noise 0.5. Now, it's not perfectly obvious here what's happened, but here is without the noise. You see sort of the median, what's left over. This is the original noise that was in the image after it's been kind of taken away. Once you add noise back in, it sort of smooths things over. Hey, there you are. Pardon me, guys. Hey. She thought we had a little altercation today where she thought I was leaving for something. Now, Lydia, I gotta just finish the stream. I'll be down in a couple minutes, okay? Can you go back down to mommy? Can you go back down to mommy for a little while? Eh? What are you crying for? We'll eat, we'll either have some popcorn or some candy floss, okay? All right?
We bring the ice cream.
We'll have ice cream. Give me a couple minutes. We'll have ice cream, okay? Careful. Don't hit the Minidisc stuff. All right. Oh, no, don't bring it up here. I can't have it up here. I'll be down in a couple minutes. Okay, I'll be down in a couple minutes, guys. So basically, once you add back the noise here, or add in noise, basically it smooths over these sort of transitions. Now, I could have done better and made sure that's perfect. And for sure, even for a magazine image, I wouldn't let that slide. But I just want you to see, adding noise in brings back a certain nature to the image that wouldn't be there otherwise. Noise exists in photographs. And if you don't have it there, the transitions can just be a little bit too jarring. Now, when you bring into Lightroom, you can add noise again and kind of remove noise, and you can get it like really smooth, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to we're going to merge all these stuff that I've done. Let's see here, merge layers here. And we're just going to zoom in here. This is the final image. This is the previous. This is what it was like before. The way I try to treat my the basic image editing is, don't do anything that's going to change the nature of the image. Just get rid of the stuff that doesn't look right. And so that's generally how this is. You don't see any major changes in contrast, etc. I try to do that in camera. However, if you wanted to, I do suggest adding, see if I even remember how to do this, adjustments, little curve. You can either bring up the shadows a little bit or bring them down, make them pop. If you'll notice, this is also another thing I actually like to do. You can really pop it up like this. Make sure you zoom in, because if you're like this here, this Sony thing, Sony logo here. Let's see, how do I get rid of all this? Just a moment here. Layers. All right. So this Sony logo, you can hear it's a little bit what's it called? It's popping too much. So that's too much. Sorry. Bring that back. No. Stop it. How do I? No. What's going on here? Things have changed. Ah, there we are. That's popping too much. Just bring that down a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, is it? You don't want the whites to go too hot. But let's just say like that. Actually, you know what? I'll show you a couple. No, let's not do it. Okay, if I were here for a little bit longer, what I do is I would do one that's quite bright like this, and then what we would do is we would clone it in, especially to the Minidisc logo and to something like this digital recording, and you just paint that in or paint it out, and that helps you get contrast with the buttons and with various small nuances or details. But because I don't have the time to do that, and listen, that's boring, and that would be something you would do. Actually, you can do it very quickly, but let's not do that. What I'm going to do is we're just going to close this off by going about. We don't want the Sony logo to get too hot, so we're just going to bring that to about like that and call that good. Now see layers. And the other thing is this black stripe here, which is essentially it's the shadow from a black reflector I used in order to keep the contrast in the image hot. Because if I didn't use that, what would happen is I would get the light bouncing off of kind of like white walls, and you would get a flatter image. I didn't want a really flat image. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to not crop. It's not what I want. Wait, yeah, let's crop it. But let's go original ratio. And we're just going to make it smaller here. Unfortunately, I should have shot this a little wider. So what I'm going to do here, what I'm doing here is actually going to end up losing some of the nice dead space that I liked. So that's pretty tight now, but there's no more of that black stripes. Now, if you're, you could do other things. You can add a gradient. You can do a whole bunch of things to make it pop a little bit more, whatever you want. Like I said, what I normally do would be add a reflector here and to get the image details from the face part here to go into both of these. And then I would do it on the side as well, so that you get good contrast that focuses the eye, that makes you appreciate the sort of lines of it and the shadows, but you also bring back some of the details that are lost in the shadows. And you do it naturally. You just put back the stuff there. You don't bring up the shadows and bring up the noise. And then if you do that, if you rely on the sensor's dynamic range, what happens is you don't get those sharp lines, etc. And you get the colors go false, etc. So I like to just bring a reflector, just put it in front of the unit, like here's an example. Here, let's see. All right, good example is I have the unit in front of me and I shoot it normally like this, and then I just bring a reflector like this, and I don't know if you can see. I don't know if this is not a good example because there's no light coming out of the computer screen, but basically the light would come shoot in this way, it would hit the reflector and then bounce right back in this. And that's a great way to just simply do it. It takes 2 exposures, but that's fine. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's it. I got to go eat some ice cream with my daughter and my wife, but I do have a beer to finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down as soon as I finish my beer. So if you got any questions, please say them, and I will... as I go, I'll just say this. This is a piece of history, an absolute beautiful piece of history with one of the most, in some ways, complicated, because there's so many buttons, interfaces, but also super reliable interface. Now, some of these have bad pickups. The sound isn't the best. But if you're a fan of Minidisc, this is a unit to have, and they're not expensive anymore because they're one of the few units, as I got older, they really aged poorly. So... yeah. Do I have anything more to say about Minidisc? By the way, I may have a guest coming on, and we're going to see how this works either this weekend or the next week. He's a person that watches this channel from time to time. I'm not sure if he's ever showed up to the live streams before, but he has showed up for Minidisc stuff, which I really do want to pay more attention to. Oh, by the way, we better save this file. Save it. All right. Okay. He may be coming on this weekend or the next weekend. I'm not sure when, but he is a person that likes tech. He's also, and this is quite interesting, something I appreciate. He's also into conspiracy involving tech. So it could be an interesting way to talk about weekly goings on in the tech world, with someone who has a mind that's not just on what's the latest, big wide mouth soy boy sort of grin. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Someone that has some sort of connection that's still in the earth, no matter whether it's kind of off in left field or right field or whatever. Anyway, I hope that it'll be good, and I look forward to it. But we'll see. We're still kind of working on the intricacies of how to do it. And if it happens this week, then we'll do it. And if it does work, then we'll try to do more recurring shows together to talk about things. Now, of course, this is my first live stream this year. I haven't been doing it a lot. I've actually been, it's pretty easy to burn out. Some people do live streams as their job. Obviously, you can't do a live stream as a job when you got 3 people watching, or I think I had max 15. But some people do it, and they do very well. Pardon me. But even for me, just doing a regular video is actually quite frustrating. I have a video that I finished, but I haven't published it yet. It's on the X-T3 and the 18-55. Long story short, I'll just give my thesis. The 18-55 is the best X lens out there. Not because it's the sharpest, not because it's the most compact, not because blah, blah, blah. It is because it puts everything that's a strong thing in the X universe into a single lens. And it basically does something that what it does, no other lens from full frame or mirrorless or APS-C or Micro Four Thirds comes close to doing as well. I think it's just a perfectly conceived lens. And I wish Fujifilm made more lenses like it. Now you don't have to watch the video whenever I get it out. 2 more videos I want to do on the X-T3. Another one is just showing how well it plays back audio files. So I'll be comparing it to Minidisc as well as DAPs. And the final one is just a final review before I sell it. I don't want it anymore. So that's it. Yeah. So if you got a question, ask it now. I'm leaving. It's a quiet room. It's a quiet room. Just hear the contented sighs of the man drinking a Yona Yona beer. Decent beer, not a great beer. Decent beer. From a can. Not the best way to do it. Not the best way to do it. Well, Moonshine Graffiti, thank you very much for chatting. And early on, the wise guy, Jube8891. Glad to have you as well. Anyone else? We'll see you next time. Time to play that outro video. There we are. Ooh. We'll start there. We'll start right there. Waiting for the taxi. Back when it was safe to wait for taxis. All right. Ooh, Hasselblad. Love that Hasselblad, man. That back, man. That back was seriously good stuff. Seriously. That Leica, perfect design. There's a bit of blue in there. Should have fixed that. Wish I would have done a video of how I did that. Microscopy, by the way. Let me do it. Let's see here. Okay, microscopy. We're going to be doing some microscopy here on Fauxtaku Lounge. Part of a study that my daughter is actually kind of interested in doing some micro photographic work, looking at insects and stuff up close and some other things. Anyway, I do have a 20 times and a 5 times microscope lens, so we're gonna be doing that. Anyway, see you guys later. Have a good one. Hey, here's. Oh, thank you for the chocolate. Okay, we're going down. See you later. Say goodbye, dear.
Goodbye.
All right, sweet. Cheers, guys. Bye bye. End broadcast.